Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Matrix Labs, in the video number 48. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been discussing how we can download and install the Purple Knight tool, which is a very important tool for scanning and assessing your Active Directory security status. We have seen that the website we can download this tool from, how we can install it, the different tests we can use or that are implemented by this tool. We have seen a couple of problems or only one problem maybe that I have faced when I was installing this tool, which is the resolution of the screen. You need to have the resolution of your laptop or your server to be in a certain resolution, so the whole screen of the program or the tool can appear for you. Anyway, we have seen this is a very organized tool. We have seen its interface is very easy and simple to understand. It scans or it does a lot of tests for a lot of environments. For example, you can run this test on an Active Directory on-premise environment, or run this on an Azure environment or a cloud environment, or also using this tool on an Okta domain. We have seen all of these, and we have seen how the tool we can install it and then run the test. We have seen that we have run 106 tests and we have failed 11 tests. Let's see why we have failed in the 11 tests and why we have succeeded in the rest. Okay, so let's see and discuss this report in detail. So this is the output. If we go there, this is the output of the report. We have seen, or we see here, a very important note in the beginning. He's saying here that a typical Active Directory is in a constant state of flux with hundreds or even thousands of changes made every day. So the Active Directory environment is changeable, or it's always in a state of change. Okay, so Purple Knight offers a helpful snapshot of your security posture, but it's not substitution for continuous monitoring of events taking place in your directory. So this tool will give you the status of your Active Directory security in the time that it is running. It's not a tool used for continuous monitoring of the security status of your Active Directory. And actually, this can run for a certain amount of time. So you can use this tool for a certain amount of time. Maybe later other security hazards will appear, or new security hazards will appear, and this tool will be outdated, so you need to update it. Anyway, this is not a substitution for a program or specialized program for monitoring your Active Directory 24/7 and monitoring your Active Directory security status. There is a lot of programs that can do that around the clock. Okay, this is only a snapshot, or it's only used for a certain amount of time, or to assess your Active Directory security in a certain amount of time, or in some period of time. Okay, so let's see. This is very good, and actually most of these programs, most of them, for example, like Manage Engine Active Directory program, there is programs used for vulnerability scan. Okay, I think Manage Engine also have one of these programs. Anyway, so there is a lot of programs that can monitor your Active Directory around the clock. This is only a tool that can do some of, or can do these functions, or these programs functions, but limited and for a certain amount of time. Anyway, this is one note we need to take into consideration. Then we will see here that he is telling us that you can run this test for an Active Directory Forest, an Azure Active Directory tenant, Okta Identity Platform. So you can run this tool on all of the three environments. Then we see our grade, or our assessment. We have 91% or B minus as a score. We see here some of the information concerning our forest. We have matrix.internal forest. We have only one domain. The test had run for 3 minutes and 12 seconds. It run by the domain admin, which is Karim.Raouf at Matrix. Then we have seen, or we see the indicators or the test. We have 104. We have 3 tests that are not selected. Maybe they are irrelevant for our environment. We have seen we have 11 important points that we haven't passed or we need to focus on. We have passed 93 tests. We have failed to run one. We will see why this has failed to run. And we have one irrelevant, okay, or it's not relevant to our environment, okay. Here is stating all of the critical findings, the 11 findings. We will discuss them one by one. And this is the failed test to run. I think this is concerning Active Directory secure certificate authority. We don't have a certificate authority in our domain, so of course it will fail. Then we see the different tests. Here we see that the test has run a group or run a lot of tests, and they are categorized in this way. For example, a couple of tests are grouped under a title called Active Directory Delegation, and a couple of tests also are grouped under account security. Then also some tests are grouped under AD infrastructure security, and some are grouped under group policy security, and some are grouped under corpus security, and the last one is hybrid. We don't have it. We see that these are the results. We have 99% passed or A grade, 99. We see in the AD infrastructure 96, and group policy 96, and corpus security 98. We will discuss each one in details. So the first one we need to discuss, or the group of tests that we need to discuss, is the AD delegation. So all of these tests are focusing on the AD delegation, okay, saying that AD delegation is a critical part of security and compliance. By delegating control over Active Directory, you can grant users or groups certain permissions. We will see that in a moment, but here is the first group of tests. We see have AD delegation. We have we didn't pass one of these tests. So first of all, he's giving a brief about what is AD delegation. The category of tests is called, or it is grouped under a title named Active Directory Delegation. He said this is a critical part of security and compliance. By delegating control over Active Directory, you can grant users groups permissions without adding users to privileged groups. We all know that privileged groups have excessive rights, like the domain admin or enterprise admin. So we don't need to give a user all of these excessive rights. So we can give the user some of the privileged groups excessive rights. Some of them, okay, are given to him. So we do not give him all of the rights. This is a good way to give some rights to certain users, not to give them all rights. We have a say that says that ultimate power is ultimate corruption. So you cannot give a user all of the rights. Give him the rights to do only his job. Okay, so let's see what is Active Directory Delegation. If we go to the Perplexity AI tool, we have a lot of explanation concerning the Active Directory Delegation process. We will see what Perplexity AI have to say about this, and we will see ChatGPT 4o, and we will see Claude. So let's see the first answer concerning what is Active Directory Delegation. And again, we focus on that the Perplexity tool is very, very good in gathering and searching information from the internet and summarizing them and giving you the references for this answer. And also it can give you videos and screenshots concerning the subject that you are searching for, which is a very, very good tool from my point of view if you want to get an accurate answer. So let's see. This is the answer of Perplexity. Let's read it loudly.
Active Directory (AD) delegation is a process that allows administrators to assign specific permissions to users or groups, enabling them to perform certain administrative tasks without granting them full administrative rights. This is crucial for maintaining security and operational efficiency within an organization. Overview of Active Directory delegation. Delegation in Active Directory is primarily managed through the delegation of Control Wizard, which simplifies the process of granting permissions. This approach helps organizations adhere to the principle of least privilege, ensuring that users have only the permissions necessary for their roles. Key benefits of delegation. Enhanced security. By limiting permissions, organizations can reduce the risk of unauthorized access and potential security breaches. Operational efficiency. Delegation allows for the distribution of administrative tasks, reducing the burden on domain administrators and enabling quicker responses to user needs. Steps to delegate control in Active Directory. Delegating control involves several steps, which can be performed using the Active Directory Users and Computers (ADUC) console. Here's a step-by-step guide. Open ADUC. Launch the Active Directory Users and Computers console. Select the organizational unit. OU. Navigate to the OU where you want to delegate control. Right-click on the OU and select Delegate Control. Launch the wizard. The Delegation of Control wizard will open. Click Next to proceed. Add users or groups. Click the Add button to select the user or group to whom you want to delegate control. After selecting, click Next. Choose tasks to delegate. You can either select from a list of common tasks or choose to create a custom task. Common tasks include resetting passwords, creating user accounts, or managing group memberships. If creating a custom task, select the specific permissions you wish to grant. Confirm and finish. Review your selections and click Finish to complete the delegation process. Example scenario. For instance, if you want to allow a help desk group to reset user passwords within a specific OU, you would right-click the OU and select Delegate Control. Add the help desk group to the wizard. Select the task of resetting passwords and confirm the delegation. Best practices for Active Directory delegation. To ensure effective delegation while maintaining security, consider the following best practices. Use groups, not individual users. Always delegate permissions to groups rather than individual user accounts. This simplifies management and auditing. Limit permissions. Apply the principle of least privilege by granting only the permissions necessary for the task at hand. Regular audits. Periodically review delegated permissions to ensure they are still appropriate and to identify any potential security risks. Good OU design. Organize users and resources into well-structured OUs. This facilitates easier delegation and management of permissions. Avoid built-in security groups. Instead of using built-in groups like domain admins or account operators, create custom security groups tailored to your delegation needs. By following these guidelines, organizations can effectively manage their Active Directory environment while minimizing security risks associated with overly broad permissions.
So this is a very, very good answer, and it's giving us an example and a lot of useful data. If you see the prompt here, I'm asking it what is Active Directory delegation process and how it is done. We can see this is a very, very good answer. Let's see the answer of ChatGPT here I'm asking it the same question. So let's see what will be the answer of ChatGPT. I think it will be more easy to understand, even though I think the answer of Perplexity is very, very good. But we can see here that they are giving similar answers, but in different format or in different reading or different structure. Let's read the answer.
Active Directory AD delegation is the process of assigning specific permissions to users or groups to perform certain administrative tasks within Active Directory without giving them full administrative rights. This approach is often used to follow the principle of least privilege, ensuring that users have only the permissions they need to perform their roles, thereby reducing security risks. Why use Active Directory delegation? Security limits the exposure of sensitive AD components by restricting access to only what's necessary. Efficiency distributes administrative tasks across different teams or users without granting full control over the entire AD. Compliance helps meet regulatory and organizational policies by ensuring that only authorized users can perform certain tasks. Active Directory delegation process. Identify the tasks. Determine which specific administrative tasks need to be delegated, such as resetting passwords, managing group memberships, creating user accounts, etc. Create a delegated group. It's a best practice to create a security group in AD for the users who will be assigned delegated tasks. This makes it easier to manage and audit permissions. Use the delegation of control wizard. Open Active Directory Users and Computers, ADUC. Right-click on the organizational unit, OU, or container where you want to delegate permissions. Select Delegate Control to launch the delegation of control wizard. Choose Users or Groups. Select the users or groups you want to delegate control to. Select Tasks to delegate. The wizard provides a list of common tasks, like creating and managing user accounts, managing groups, resetting passwords, etc. You can select from these predefined tasks or create custom tasks. Finish the wizard. Review the summary and finish the process. The wizard automatically configures the necessary permissions based on your selections. Verify and adjust permissions. After delegation, it's crucial to verify that the permissions were applied correctly. You can review the permissions using the advanced security settings for the OU or objects within the OU. If necessary, adjust the permissions manually to ensure that the delegation meets your specific needs. Monitor and audit. Regularly monitor and audit the delegated permissions to ensure they are still appropriate. This helps maintain security and compliance over time. Best practices for Active Directory delegation. Document everything. Always document who has been delegated what permissions and why. This helps in troubleshooting and auditing. Use least privilege. Only delegate the minimum necessary permissions. Periodic review. Regularly review delegated permissions to ensure they are still necessary and appropriate. Custom delegation. If predefined tasks in the wizard do not meet your needs, use custom delegation to tailor the permissions precisely. Example scenario. Imagine you have a help desk team that needs to reset passwords and unlock accounts, but should not have the ability to create or delete user accounts. Using AD delegation, you can create a security group called Help Desk. Use the delegation of control wizard to grant this group the rights to reset passwords and unlock accounts within a specific OU, e.g., user's OU. Verify that the permissions are correctly set. By following this process, you've effectively limited the help desk team's permissions to just the tasks they need to perform, enhancing your overall security posture. Conclusion. Active Directory delegation is a powerful feature that, when used correctly, helps distribute administrative responsibilities while maintaining control and security. It's an essential tool for organizations that need to manage permissions efficiently and securely.
So we can see it's a similar answer to Perplexity answer, but maybe more easy to understand. Let's see the answer of Claude. And we are just comparing the answers to get more info, because some of these tools give us additional information, so they don't give the same answer. Just a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. Here we are comparing the different answers of different AI tools, because they don't give the same answer. Some tools add additional information, so we can take benefit of all of these tools together. So let's see the answer of Claude 3.5 Sonnet.
Active Directory environment. Copy. Retry. Active Directory AD delegation is the process of assigning specific administrative permissions to users or groups, allowing them to perform certain tasks without granting full administrative rights. This practice follows the principle of least privilege, enhancing security and simplifying management. Here's an overview of the delegation process and how it's done. Purpose of AD delegation. Distribute administrative tasks. Reduce workload on domain administrators. Improve security by limiting access rights. Enable more efficient management of large AD environments. Delegation process. A. Identify tasks to delegate. Determine which administrative tasks need to be assigned to non-admin users. B. Choose delegation targets. Select users or groups who will receive delegated permissions. C. Define the scope. Determine the organizational units, OUs, or objects where the delegated permissions will apply. D. Assign permission. Grant specific rights to perform the identified tasks within the defined scope. How to implement AD delegation. Use the Delegation of Control wizard. Open Active Directory users and computers. Right-click on the OU or container where you want to delegate control. Select Delegate Control to launch the wizard. Follow the wizard steps to select users/groups and assign permissions. B. Manual delegation through advanced security settings. Right-click on the OU or object and select Properties. Go to the Security tab and click Advanced. Add users/groups and assign specific permissions. C. PowerShell for more advanced scenarios. Use cmdlets like add AD group member, set AD object, and set ACL to manage delegations programmatically. Common delegation scenarios. Reset user passwords. Create, modify, or delete user accounts. Manage group memberships. Modify specific user properties, e.g., phone numbers, addresses. Manage computer accounts. Best practices. Regularly review and audit delegated permissions. Use groups for delegation instead of individual users. Document all delegations for easier management. Implement a process for requesting and approving new delegations. Regularly train delegated administrators on their responsibilities and security best practices. By implementing proper AD delegation, organizations can improve their overall security posture, reduce administrative overhead, and enable more efficient management of their Active Directory environment. Copy. Retry. Krone. I need a script to get me any AD delegation in my Active Directory. Certainly, I can provide you with a PowerShell script to retrieve Active Directory delegation. PowerShell script to get AD delegations.
So sorry guys, this is by the way, here we have a script. If, for example, if you need to know if there is any rights that are delegated in your Active Directory environment, so here this is the script to do that. So you can take it and run it in your Active Directory environment, and you will see if there is any delegated permissions on any of your Active Directory OUs. This is, I will show you all how we can do that, but this is very, very important script, so you can use it to see if there is any delegated rights in your Active Directory environment, and this is exported in a CSV file. So for example, when you run this kind of script, it will get you if there is any special rights or delegated rights or any of your Active Directory OUs. So for example, let me show you all the result of this report, or the result of this script. If we go there and matrix and we open, let me show you all something here. It's called AD delegation report. Okay, if these are all of the OUs in my Active Directory and the rights on it. Okay, so let me show you all. So for example, we have the hovercraft OU. We can see that there is everyone. This is an organizational unit, and we have everyone have deny, so everyone can't access this this OU. We can see, for example, enterprise domain controllers have read permissions on this OU. Let me go further and show you something here. If we go to a certain OU, I have already delegated right to it. So let's see, this is we can see there is a folder or an OU called users, which is under hovercraft matrix.internal. This OU, I have delegated the rights. Okay, the OU users hovercraft matrix.internal, I have delegated to the engineering group in the Active Directory. I have give it extended rights. So when you see something called extended rights, then that means that you have delegated a right to this OU. So this is very, very simple. If you see extended rights, then that means that you have delegated, or there is some rights are delegated to this OU for this group. So this is a very, very simple report. And as we can see here, there is a lot of columns. First of all, this is the OU, then the class of the OU. So sorry, this is the object and the class of the object, and then the reference or the identity reference or the group, and then the access type, if it's allow or deny, the rights, Active Directory rights, inheritance, if it is inherited or not, or these rights are inherited or not, object type and inherited object type. I don't know these two, but anyway, this is a very, very simple report, and I'll show you all how it is executed. So let's go again to our Claude answer. So this is how we can, or what is the Active Directory delegation. If we go to Perplexity, let's see if I have another answer, or we can see how it is implemented. Okay, we have seen the best practice for Active Directory, I think, so we don't need this answer because we have already done that. Or he have give us here I'm asking it how to make a regular audit on the delegation rights or the delegated rights. This is very, very simple. Also, we use this script to do that. So we will stop at this one, and we will go to ChatGPT 4o to see if we have. So here I'm asking it the same question to give me a script to get any AD delegation rights in my Active Directory. But actually, the script of Claude is more simple and to the point. And here is giving you a simulation or example of the output of this script. So anyway, so let's see how we can make Active Directory delegation in real world scenario. So here I have my matrix.internal domain, and then I will go to the hovercraft. Okay, and then I will go to the users OU, and then right click. Okay, and then delegate control, then next. Okay, then you add the group that you will delegate rights to it. So for example, this is matrix or engineering, the engineering group. Here I don't remember the name, so I will search and choose choose any group and give it admin rights, or give it the reset password right, if to be very specific. So it is the matrix engineering group, so we will give it the right for resetting password to users in this OU. Next, then we can choose to reset user password and force change at next login. So this is very, very simple, and then we can go next and then finish. So let's continue here. Let me go further back. So here how you can do this without the delegation wizard. You can right click the OU and then properties. So if you don't need a delegation wizard, you can do this manually, but right click on properties and then security. Okay, you need to have advanced features selected. So right click and then properties, then security. Then here you can add any user. Okay, you need to delegate permissions too, but I think here you cannot choose the right. Okay, I think this is not available as simple as the delegation wizard. So let's see, when you open advanced, he's saying here in the answer that you need to revise the settings after, or the delegated rights after they are implemented through the advanced security setting. But I think you can add the rights also from the advanced security tab. So for example, here is advanced, and then here you can see you can choose or add and select the permissions. I think this also can be done using this way or the delegation control wizard. So we can go further and continue. Here is the script that we are talking about, so let's go further and see the script. So here this is the script, and then I will try to take it and implement it in the in my in my environment. Sorry. Before that, we'll begin talking about the admin SD holder, or this is the first point in the Active Directory delegation group of tests. But first, let me show you the script. Okay, the script that we need to run to make sure that we don't have any delegated rights in our Active Directory. We will open the PowerShell ISE to run the script, or the script provided by Claude. Now we can run as administrator. So here we are using this script to make sure that we don't have any delegated rights in our Active Directory environment, or even to document these delegated rights. As we have seen, the CSV file, it's very simple, but this is for the ChatGPT 4o script, but I think we can do this using the Claude. It's better, it have a better script, so let's go and implement it. Okay, here is the script, but here I'm just doing one thing. Here I am adding the path to the D partition. So this is the script. It is very simple. Let me show you all the script. Here is the script. Okay, and here I am just changing the path to export the result to CSV file. Here I'm putting it to export it to my D partition. Okay, so this is the script. Okay, the prompt that you should give to the AI tool to give you this script. I need a script to get my any AD delegation in my Active Directory. This is the script. You need only to change the path, or the exported output path. Okay, here this is, we put it in my D partition. So let's see. I will run the script again. Okay, and then we will see the output. Now it is already exported. We can go and see the output. Here is the output. I have already shown you guys the report. If we go and see any Active Directory rights that is listed as extended rights, then that means that this is a delegation. Okay, or here there is a delegation that is done, extended right. Okay. So this is very simple. very useful, by the way. This is a report that will give you all of the permissions on all of your Active Directory OUs. So this is a very good report for saving the rights on your OUs. Okay, so let's go to the first thing here, or let's go to something. If we go further, let's go further. Okay, let's continue. So here we will begin discussing the next, or the first point in our report. If we go there, what is the first point? Here we need to make sure that inheritance enabled on admin SD holder. Here we need to make sure that inheritance is not enabled on a folder. It's not a folder, an object in the Active Directory called admin SD holder. It appears to be the same as an OU, but it is not an OU. It's a folder, or a default folder in the Active Directory structure, something called admin SD holder object. We need to make sure that this folder is not inheriting any permissions from a parent folder or from a parent OU. Okay, let's see why we need to make sure this is not applied. And what is an admin SD holder object? It's a very, very important object in the Active Directory. A hacker, if he has control over this object, he can take full control of your domain. So let's see what is an admin SD holder, okay, and why it is very, very important. Let's go and begin here. Let's go and see what is an admin SD holder. Here you go. This is the answer. Let's read it. First of all, this is very, very technical explanation. We will try to simplify it, and we will try to ask different AI tools so we can get more info. Okay, so here we go. Let's see what is an admin SD holder. First, let's read the description.
Admin SD holder is a critical object in Active Directory AD that serves as a template for the security permissions of protected accounts and groups. Here's an overview of its function and significance. What is admin SD holder? Location. The admin SD holder object resides in the system container of every Active Directory domain, specifically at the path. CN equals admin SD holder. CN equals system. DC equals purpose. Its primary role is to maintain consistent security descriptors for high-privilege accounts and groups, such as domain admins, enterprise admins, and other protected groups. This ensures that these accounts have appropriate permissions and cannot be easily modified by unauthorized users. Security Descriptor Template. Admin SD holder acts as a template for the access control list, ACL, of these protected accounts. It contains a more restrictive ACL that is applied to members of protected groups to prevent unauthorized changes. How does it work? SD-Prop process. Every hour, a process called SD-Prop, Security Descriptor Propagator, runs, which applies the ACL from the admin SD holder to all accounts that are members of protected groups. This process disables security inheritance on these accounts, replaces their existing ACL with the ACL from admin SD holder, sets the admin count attribute to 1, indicating that the account is part of a protected group. Impact of SD-Prop. If any changes are made to the permissions of these accounts, SD-Prop will revert them back to the settings defined in admin SD holder within an hour, ensuring that the security settings remain intact. Why is admin SD holder important? Prevention of unauthorized access. By enforcing strict permissions on high-privilege accounts, admin SD holder helps prevent unauthorized access and modifications, which are critical for maintaining the security of the AD environment. Mitigating risks. Understanding how admin SD holder operates is essential for mitigating potential security risks, including attacks that aim to exploit these protected accounts. Best practices related to admin SD holder. Do not alter admin SD holder. It is considered bad practice to modify the ACLs of the admin SD holder object itself. Changes can lead to security vulnerabilities and should be avoided. Monitor admin count attribute. Regularly check the admin count attribute of user accounts to identify those that are affected by admin SD holder. Accounts with this attribute set to may first require additional scrutiny. Use auditing tools. Implement Active Directory auditing tools to monitor changes to admin SD holder and the accounts it affects. This helps in quickly identifying any unauthorized changes or potential security breaches. By understanding and managing the admin SD holder object effectively, organizations can enhance their Active Directory security posture and protect sensitive accounts from unauthorized access. Share. Rewrite. Explain in layman's terms. Pro search. Explain admin SD holder in simple terms for better understanding. Answer. Admin SD holder is a special object in Active Directory, AD, that helps keep important user accounts secure. Here's a simple breakdown of what it is and why it matters. What is admin SD holder? Where it lives. Think of Admin SD Holder as a secure vault located in the background of your organization's computer network. It's found in a specific area of Active Directory that manages user accounts and groups. What it does, its main job is to protect powerful accounts, like those of system administrators, from being changed or tampered with by unauthorized users. These accounts have special permissions that allow them to perform critical tasks on the network. How does it work? Security settings. Admin SD Holder contains a set of rules, called security settings, that define who can do what with these powerful accounts. For example, it ensures that only certain people can change passwords or access sensitive information. Regular checks. Every hour, a process runs that checks these powerful accounts and makes sure they still follow the rules set by Admin SD Holder. If someone tries to change the permissions of these accounts, the process will revert them back to the original settings. Why is it important? Protecting important accounts. Admin SD Holder helps keep the accounts of system administrators safe from hackers or other unauthorized users who might want to gain control over the network. Maintaining security. By enforcing strict rules on these powerful accounts, Admin SD Holder helps prevent security breaches and keeps the organization's data secure. Simple best practices. Don't change the rules. It's important not to modify the settings of Admin SD Holder itself, as doing so could create security holes. Keep an eye on important accounts. Regularly check the accounts protected by Admin SD Holder to make sure they're still secure and that no unauthorized changes have been made. In summary, Admin SD Holder acts like a security guard for important accounts in Active Directory, ensuring that only authorized personnel can make changes and keeping the network safe from potential threats. Share. Rewrite. Give an example. Answer. Sure. Let's use a practical example to illustrate how Admin SD Holder works in Active Directory, AD, and why it's important. Example scenario, protecting the domain admin account. Background. In an organization, there are several user accounts with different levels of access. Among these, the domain admin account is one of the most powerful. This account can make significant changes to the network, such as adding or removing users, changing permissions, and managing servers. Step 1. Admin SD Holder Setup. Admin SD Holder Object. The Admin SD Holder object has a set of strict security rules, an access control list or ACL, that dictate who can access or modify the domain admin account. These rules are designed to protect the account from unauthorized changes. Step 2. Regular security checks. SD-Prop process. Every hour, the SD-Prop, Security Descriptor Propagator, process runs. It checks the domain admin account and compares its security settings to those in the Admin SD Holder. Step 3. Scenario of unauthorized change. Unauthorized change attempt. Imagine a scenario where someone, let's say a junior IT staff member, tries to change the permissions of the domain admin account to allow another user to have similar powers. They might think this will help with their work, but it poses a significant security risk. Step 4. Reversion to secure settings. SD-Prop kicks in. Within an hour, the SD-Prop process detects that the permissions of the domain admin account have been altered. It automatically reverts those changes back to the strict rules defined in Admin SD Holder. This means the unauthorized permissions are removed and the account remains secure. Step 5. Resulting security benefits. Protection maintained. Thanks to Admin SD Holder and the SD-Prop process, the domain admin account remains protected from unauthorized changes, ensuring that only trusted personnel can access and modify critical settings. Conclusion. In this example, Admin SD Holder acts as a safeguard for the domain admin account, ensuring that its permissions are strictly controlled and maintained. This helps prevent potential security breaches and keeps the organization's IT environment secure. By automatically reverting any unauthorized changes, Admin SD Holder plays a crucial role in maintaining the integrity of powerful accounts in Active Directory. Share. Rewrite. Can you provide a real-world scenario where Admin SD Holder caused issues? Sources. Exploring persistent access in Active Directory. The admin SD holder backdoor. Michael Waterman. 1. How adversaries achieve persistence using admin SD holder and SD prop. Blog.netrix. 2. 5 common questions about admin SD holder and SD prop. Techcommunity.microsoft. 3. View 5 more. Answer. A real-world scenario where admin SD holder caused issues involves a security breach where an attacker exploited compromised domain admin credentials to manipulate the admin SD holder object. Here's how it unfolded. Scenario: rogue account insertion. Compromise of credentials. An adversary gains access to domain admin credentials through phishing or exploiting vulnerabilities in the network. Manipulating admin SD holder. With these credentials, the attacker adds a rogue account to the admin SD holder. This account is granted the same high-level permissions as the protected accounts managed by admin SD holder, effectively giving the attacker a backdoor into the system. Invisible threat. The rogue account can be configured to use deny permissions on the everyone group, making it difficult to detect. This means that while the account has high-level access, it can operate without raising alarms, as it appears hidden from standard monitoring practices. Persistence. The admin SD holder automatically applies its permissions to all accounts listed within it every hour. This means that even if the attacker's changes are detected and attempts are made to remove the rogue account or its permissions, the admin SD holder will reapply those permissions, making it a persistent threat. Long-term access. The attacker can maintain access to critical systems undetected for an extended period, allowing them to gather sensitive information, manipulate data, or launch further attacks. Consequences. Security breach. The organization faces a significant security breach with potential data loss, theft of sensitive information, and damage to its reputation. Remediation efforts. The organization must undertake extensive remediation efforts, including auditing all accounts, removing the rogue account, and enhancing security measures to prevent future incidents. Lessons learned. Monitoring and auditing. This scenario highlights the importance of regular monitoring and auditing of the admin SD holder object and the accounts it protects. Organizations should implement robust monitoring tools to detect unauthorized changes. Least privilege principle. Applying the principle of least privilege rigorously can help minimize the risk of such breaches. Only necessary permissions should be granted to users, especially those with administrative rights. Education and awareness. IT staff should be educated about the risks associated with admin SD holder and the importance of maintaining its integrity to prevent exploitation. This scenario illustrates how admin SD holder, while intended to protect high-privilege accounts, can also be a vector for persistent attacks if not properly managed and monitored. Share. Rewrite. Why enable inheritance enabled on admin SD holder object could pose security issues. Explain. Sources. Admin SD holder. Pitfalls and misunderstandings. Secure identity. Secure identity. 1. Reducing the Active Directory attack surface. Learn.microsoft. 2. User account security inheritance being disabled automatically. Learn.microsoft. 3. View 5 more. Answer. Enabling inheritance on the admin SD holder object in Active Directory can pose significant security issues for several reasons. 1. Loss of protection for privileged accounts. Admin SD holder is designed to maintain strict security settings for high privilege accounts, such as domain admins and enterprise admins. By default, inheritance is disabled on admin SD holder to ensure that these accounts do not inadvertently inherit permissions from parent objects that could weaken their security. If inheritance is enabled, these privileged accounts could inherit less secure permissions from their parent organizational units, OUs, potentially allowing unauthorized users to gain access or modify critical settings. 2. Increased risk of privilege escalation. When inheritance is enabled, an attacker who gains access to a lower privileged account could exploit this to escalate their privileges. For example, If a user account that should have limited access inherits permissions from a parent OU that has broader access rights, the account could inadvertently gain elevated privileges. This could lead to unauthorized access to sensitive data or the ability to perform administrative tasks. 3. Compromise security, descriptor consistency. Admin SD holder serves as a template for the security descriptors of protected accounts. If inheritance is enabled, the security descriptors of these accounts could change unexpectedly due to modifications in the parent OU. This inconsistency undermines the primary purpose of admin SD holder, which is to ensure that high-privilege accounts maintain a consistent and secure set of permissions, regardless of their location in the directory. 4. Difficulty in auditing and monitoring. With inheritance enabled, tracking the permissions applied to privileged accounts becomes more complex. Changes in parent OUs could lead to unexpected permission changes on protected accounts, making it challenging for administrators to audit and monitor security settings effectively. This complexity can result in oversight and increase the risk of security breaches. Conclusion. In summary, enabling inheritance on the admin SD holder object can significantly weaken the security posture of an Active Directory environment. It can lead to unauthorized access, privilege escalation, and inconsistencies in security settings, all of which can have serious implications for the security of the organization. Therefore, it is crucial to keep inheritance disabled on admin SD holder to maintain the integrity and security of privileged accounts. Share. Rewrite. Explain in layman's terms. Answer. Sure. Let's break it down into simpler terms to understand why enabling inheritance on the admin SD holder object can create security problems. What is admin SD holder? Think of admin SD holder as a special security guard for the most important accounts in a company's computer system, like the domain admin account. This guard makes sure that these important accounts have strict rules about who can do what with them. What happens when inheritance is enabled? Changing the rules. When inheritance is enabled on admin SD holder, it means that the important accounts can start following the rules of their parent group or folder. Imagine if the security guard suddenly decided to follow the rules of a less secure area of the building. This could allow more people to access sensitive information or change important settings. Risk of unauthorized access. If a low-level employee's account inherits permissions from a broader group, they might gain access to things they shouldn't. For example, they could accidentally get the ability to change settings that only the IT department should handle. This is like giving someone a master key to areas they shouldn't enter. Confusing security. The purpose of admin SD holder is to keep strict control over who can do what with powerful accounts. If these accounts start inheriting permissions from other areas, it becomes confusing. It's like mixing up the rules for different parts of a building, making it hard to know who can go where. Harder to keep track. When the rules keep changing because of inheritance, it becomes difficult for the IT team to monitor and check who has access to what. This can lead to mistakes and make it easier for someone to sneak in and do something they shouldn't. Conclusion. In simple terms, enabling inheritance on admin SD holder can weaken the security of important accounts, allowing unauthorized access and making it harder to keep track of who can do what. It's like letting a security guard follow the rules of a less secure area, which could lead to serious security problems. That's why it's important to keep inheritance turned off for admin SD holder to keep those important accounts safe. Share. Rewrite. Given real-world example, what will happen if inheritance enabled on admin SD holder object? Sources. AD permissions. The admin SD holder mechanism. Self-ADSI. Self-FATSI. 1. Reducing the Active Directory attack surface. Learn.Microsoft. 2. Admin SD holder pentest everything. Viper1.Gitbook. 3. View 5 more. Answer. Enabling inheritance on the admin SD holder object in Active Directory can lead to serious security issues. Here's a real-world example illustrating what could happen if inheritance is mistakenly enabled. Real-world example. Security breach due to inheritance enabled on admin SD holder. Background. In a large organization, The IT department manages several high-privilege accounts, including the Domain Admins Group, which has extensive permissions to manage the entire network. Step 1. Accidental change to inheritance settings. Configuration error. An IT administrator, while trying to troubleshoot a permissions issue, mistakenly enables inheritance for the admin SD holder object. This means that the high-privilege accounts can now inherit permissions from their parent organizational units, OUs. Step 2. Inheriting less secure permissions. Inheritance from parent OU. The Domain Admins Group, which previously had strict permissions, now starts inheriting permissions from a parent OU that has much broader access rights. This parent OU might include less secure accounts, allowing unauthorized users to gain access to sensitive resources. Step 3. Exploitation by malicious users. Unauthorized access. A malicious insider or an attacker who has gained access to a lower privileged account within the parent OU can now exploit the inherited permissions. They might find that they can perform actions that should only be reserved for domain admins, such as resetting passwords for other high-privilege accounts or accessing sensitive data. Step 4. Privilege escalation. Escalating privileges. The attacker uses their newfound permissions to escalate their access. They might add their own account to the Domain Admins Group or create a new account with elevated privileges, effectively giving them control over the entire network. Step 5. Long-term access and damage. Persistent threat. Because the inheritance is enabled, the attacker can maintain this access for an extended period. Even if the IT team tries to revert the changes, the admin SD holder settings may continue to propagate the insecure permissions every hour due to the SD prop process, making it difficult to fully remove the unauthorized access. Consequences. Data breach. The organization faces a significant data breach, with sensitive information being accessed or leaked. Reputation damage. The incident damages the organization's reputation, leading to loss of trust from clients and stakeholders. Extensive remediation. The IT department must undertake extensive remediation efforts to secure the environment, including auditing all accounts, removing unauthorized access, and reinforcing security measures. Conclusion. This example highlights how enabling inheritance on the admin SD holder object can lead to severe security vulnerabilities. It allows high-privilege accounts to inherit less secure permissions, potentially leading to unauthorized access and privilege escalation. Therefore, it is crucial to keep inheritance disabled on admin SD holder to maintain the integrity and security of privileged accounts in Active Directory. Share. Rewrite. What is Poppy Backup Key?
So as we can see, a very, very long answer, but it says what is an admin SD holder and what does it do exactly. Very, very important one. Maybe it's a long one, but it illustrates why the admin SD holder is very, very important. Let me show you all where is the location of the admin SD holder. If we go further, here I will show you all where is the folder of the admin SD holder. If we go there and go to system, okay, here is the admin SD holder folder. Okay, here it is. This is a very, very important folder. Okay, we can see it is, or object, it is under system. So let's imagine that the permissions on the system folder is inherited to the admin SD holder folder. This will be an issue or a problem because it will have a broader permissions. So it, if anyone inherit, or if, for example, if I'm a user in this parent or you, I will inherit permissions from it and I can modify the admin SD holder folder. So we need to make sure this has block inheritance, so it will not inherit permissions from this folder, because maybe this folder has less secure permissions or broader permissions. So this is a very, very important thing. Here is the location of the admin SD holder, but let's see the answer of ChatGPT concerning what is an admin SD holder exactly. So let's read it.
Admin SD holder is a special object in Active Directory that plays a crucial role in protecting high-privilege accounts from unintended permission changes. It is part of a security feature designed to safeguard administrative accounts and groups within an Active Directory environment. Purpose of Admin SD holder. The primary purpose of the Admin SD holder object is to ensure that specific administrative accounts and groups maintain consistent security permissions, even if changes are made to their permissions elsewhere in Active Directory. This helps to protect against potential security risks, such as unintentional or malicious changes that could compromise these critical accounts. How Admin SD holder works. Location. The Admin SD holder object is located in the system container within the root of the domain. Its distinguished name, DN, is typically SQL. Copy code. CN equals admin SD holder, CN equals system, DC equals your domain, DC equals local. Protected accounts and groups. Certain high-privilege accounts and groups in Active Directory are protected by the admin SD holder process. This includes, but is not limited to, members of the domain admins group, enterprise admins group, schema admins group, administrators group, account operators group, server operators group. Any account that is a member of one of these groups or other protected groups will inherit the permissions set on the admin SD holder object. SPROP process. The security descriptor propagator, SPROP, is a background process that runs every 60 minutes by default. SPROP compares the permissions of protected accounts and groups with those of the admin SD holder object. If SPROP finds that the permissions of a protected account or group have been altered, it resets them to match those of the admin SD holder object. This ensures that these accounts maintain the correct security permissions as defined by admin SD holder. The admin count attribute on the user or group object is set to 1 to indicate that it is protected by admin SD holder. Impact of admin SD holder. Because admin SD holder enforces specific permissions, custom permissions set on protected accounts and groups might be overwritten by the SPROP process. This can be a concern if administrators are unaware of this behavior and attempt to apply custom permissions to these accounts. Additionally, if a user is removed from a protected group, the admin count attribute is not automatically reset, and the user may retain the restrictive permissions. Manual intervention is required to reset the admin count attribute if necessary. Considerations and best practices. Monitoring and understanding. It's essential to understand which accounts and groups are protected by admin SD holder to avoid unintended permission resets. Custom permissions. If you need to apply custom permissions to administrative accounts or groups, be aware that these may be overridden by the admin SD holder process. You may need to review and adjust the permissions on the admin SD holder object itself. Removing protection. If a user no longer requires protection, you can remove them from the protected group and reset the admin count attribute to 0. This can be done manually or through a script. Conclusion. The admin SD holder object is a critical security feature in Active Directory, ensuring that high-privilege accounts maintain consistent and secure permissions. Understanding how admin SD holder works, the role of the SPROP process, and the implications of this protection is essential for any AD administrator, particularly when managing sensitive accounts and delegating permissions.
So we will stop, guys, at this point and continue back. So let's continue, guys. Here we will still continue with ChatGPT 4o, and we need to tell it to explain the admin SD holder concept using a real-world example. For example, we have a domain named matrix.internal. Let's see how this will be explained. Until now, the explanation is more simpler than Perplexity, which seems to be more using technical terms. So let's see here the answer of ChatGPT 4o.
Let's walk through a real-world example using a domain named matrix.internal to illustrate how admin SD holder works and why it is important. Scenario: protecting high-privilege accounts in matrix.internal. 1. The domain environment. The domain matrix.internal is the primary Active Directory domain for a company named Matrix Corp. This domain contains several organizational units, OUs, users, groups, and computers. Among these, there are several high-privilege groups, such as domain admins. This group has full control over all domain resources. Enterprise admins. This group has full control over all resources in the entire AD forest. Schema admins. This group can modify the AD schema, which defines the structure of the directory. 2. The role of admin SD holder in matrix.internal. To protect these high-privilege groups and the users within them, the matrix.internal domain relies on the admin SD holder object. Location of admin SD holder. In the matrix.internal domain, the admin SD holder object is located at sharp copy code cn equals admin SD holder, cn equals system, dc equals matrix, dc equals internal. 3. Default permissions on admin SD holder. By default, the admin SD holder object has specific security permissions set to ensure that only authorized users and groups can make changes to accounts in high-privilege groups. These permissions are tightly controlled, allowing actions like modifying group membership or resetting passwords only by those who are supposed to have this authority. 4. Adding users to protected groups. Imagine that Alice is a senior IT administrator at Matrix Corporation. She is added to the domain admins group because she needs to perform domain-wide administrative tasks. When Alice is added to the domain admins group, her user account, CN equals Alice, OU equals admins, DC equals matrix, DC equals internal, becomes protected by admin SD holder. The security descriptor propagator, SPROP, process will ensure that the permissions on Alice's account are aligned with those set on the admin SD holder object. 5. An unauthorized permission change. A few weeks later, Bob, a junior administrator, mistakenly grants himself full control over Alice's user account. Bob does this in the hope of gaining the same level of access as Alice without following the proper procedures. Effective admin SD holder. Because Alice is a member of the domain admins group, the SPROP process running in the background will detect the unauthorized change Bob made to Alice's account permissions. The SPROP process will reset the permissions on Alice's account back to match those of the admin SD holder object, effectively removing Bob's unauthorized full control permission. 6. Outcome and protection. Thanks to admin SD holder, Bob's attempt to gain unauthorized access to Alice's account is thwarted. The admin count attribute on Alice's account is set to 1, indicating that her account is protected by the admin SD holder process. 7. Managing and auditing delegation. Matrix Corp's security team regularly reviews the permissions set on the admin SD holder object itself to ensure that only authorized administrators have the ability to manage these high-privilege accounts. If they need to grant special permissions, they do so carefully, understanding that any changes will apply to all accounts and groups protected by admin SD holder. They also ensure that any users removed from protected groups, e.g., Alice leaves the domain admins group, have their admin count attribute reset to 0 to prevent any lingering restrictive permissions. Summary. In this matrix.internal domain example, admin SD holder ensures that critical administrative accounts like Alice's remain secure, even if someone tries to make unauthorized changes. The SPROP process acts as a safeguard, constantly monitoring and enforcing consistent permissions on these accounts, reducing the risk of privilege escalation or other security breaches. By understanding and correctly managing admin SD holder, Matrix Corp's IT team maintains a robust security posture, protecting their most sensitive accounts from potential threats.
So as you can see here, this is the answer is very, very simple and easy to understand. Here, another question. Why enable inheritance enabled on admin SD holder object could pose security issues? Why we need to disable or we don't have the inheritance to be active on admin SD holder folder? This is one thing we need to make sure it is not active. If we see from the video, let me show you all something here. If we go to the admin folder and then properties, okay, if we go to the security and then advanced, if you go to the advanced section, So these are the users that can control or modify this admin SD holder folder. Okay, if we go further, let me see something here. If we go to one thing here, just 1 minute. If we go further, one again, let me go further like that. Again, let's go and see the admin SD holder folder. So here, let you have a look here. Here we can see the advanced security setting for admin SD holder. Here enable inheritance. So this means that the inheritance is disabled. So it will not inherit permissions from the system folder, which is the parent folder, as you can see here. So this is very, very important. This test done by the Purple Knight tool ensure that this setting is not enabled. So this is one thing. If we go there and continue and see what will happen if we have this feature enabled, this is another issue. Let's see the answer.
Enabling inheritance on the admin SD holder object in Active Directory can pose significant security issues due to the way inheritance works in the context of permissions and the critical role admin SD holder plays in protecting high-privilege accounts and groups. Here's an explanation. Understanding inheritance in Active Directory. Inheritance in Active Directory allows objects within a directory to inherit permissions from parent objects. This means that permissions applied at a higher level role of admin SD holder. The directory structure can automatically apply to child objects, making it easier to manage permissions across multiple objects. Role of admin SD holder. The admin SD holder object is designed to maintain and enforce specific, tightly controlled security permissions for high-privilege accounts and groups, such as members of domain admins, enterprise admins, etc. The security descriptor propagator, SPROP, process regularly copies the permissions set on admin SD holder to all protected objects, ensuring these accounts have consistent and secure permissions. Why enabling inheritance on admin SD holder is a security risk. Loss of controlled permissions. If inheritance is enabled on the admin SD holder object, it could potentially allow permissions from higher-level objects, e.g., the domain or other containers, to propagate down to admin SD holder. This means that the strict permissions specifically set on admin SD holder to protect high-privilege accounts could be overwritten or modified by less restrictive, inherited permissions. As a result, accounts that should be tightly controlled could inherit permissions that are too broad or permissive, weakening their security. Potential for unauthorized access. Inherited permissions might include broader access rights that were not intended for high-privilege accounts. For instance, a user or group might gain permissions to reset passwords, modify group membership, or access sensitive information in ways that circumvent the intended security measures. This could allow users who should not have administrative privileges to gain access to these accounts, leading to unauthorized actions within the directory, such as privilege escalation, data breaches, or administrative changes that compromise the security of the entire domain. Inconsistent security posture. The admin SD holder object is supposed to act as a consistent security template for high-privilege accounts. Enabling inheritance introduces variability and unpredictability into this system, making it difficult to guarantee that these critical accounts are always protected as intended. The introduction of inherited permissions could also lead to security misconfigurations, where different high-privilege accounts end up with different permissions, complicating security management and potentially exposing the environment to risks. Compromising the integrity of STPROP. The STPROP process relies on the assumption that admin SD holder has a fixed, secure set of permissions. If inheritance alters these permissions, SPROP may propagate inappropriate or insecure permissions to all protected accounts. This could systematically weaken the security of all high-privilege accounts across the domain rather than just affecting a single account. Real-world example. Imagine in the matrix.internal domain, inheritance is accidentally enabled on the admin SD holder object. Higher-level objects in the domain have more permissive permissions, such as allowing help desk personnel to reset user passwords or granting broad read access to certain groups. Consequence: these permissions now propagate down to the admin SD holder object and are subsequently applied to high-privilege accounts, such as members of domain admins. A help desk user could suddenly gain the ability to reset the password of a domain admin account, leading to a potential security breach. Since the SPROP process ensures that these permissions are regularly enforced, the risk is persistent and widespread. Conclusion: to ensure that high-privilege accounts remain secure, inheritance should not be enabled on the admin SD holder object. The permissions on admin SD holder must be carefully controlled and isolated from any broader permissions that might apply elsewhere in the directory. Allowing inheritance could undermine the entire security framework designed to protect these critical accounts, leading to unauthorized access, privilege escalation, and other security vulnerabilities within the domain. I need a script to confirm if permission are
So this is the answer of ChatGPT for O. If we go to Claude, the last one, and see its answer, what is an admin SD holder, and ask it to provide a real-world example, uh, and ask it what is the why if we enable the inheritance on the admin SD folder, this will do something. Let's do that. If we go there and ask Claude what is an admin SD holder,
Admin SD holder is an important security feature in Active Directory, AD, that helps protect privileged accounts and groups from unauthorized modifications. Here's a concise explanation of admin SD holder. Purpose: protects high-privilege AD accounts and groups. Ensures consistent security settings for these objects. How it works? Located in the system container of every AD domain. Acts as a template for security descriptors. Periodically, every 60 minutes by default, copies its access control list, ACL, to protected objects. Protected objects. Built-in administrative accounts, e.g., administrator. Members of protected groups, e.g., domain admins, enterprise admins. Security implications. Prevents accidental or malicious changes to critical accounts. Can interfere with intentional delegations if not properly managed. Management considerations. Changes to admin SD holder impact all protected objects. Custom permissions on protected objects may be overwritten. Best practices. Carefully consider modifications to admin SD holder. Document any changes made. Regularly audit membership of protected groups. Admin SD holder plays a crucial role in maintaining the security of an Active Directory environment by safeguarding high-privilege accounts and groups from potential security breaches or misconfigurations. Would you like more information on how to work with or modify admin SD holder settings? Copy. Retry. Krone. Explain using a real-world example, domain named matrix.internal. Certainly. Let's use a real-world example with a domain named matrix.internal to illustrate how admin SD holder works and its impact on Active Directory security. Scenario: imagine you're the IT administrator for a company called Matrix Corporation. Your Active Directory domain is matrix.internal. You have several high-privilege groups and accounts that need protection. Real-world example. Domain structure. Domain name, matrix.internal. Domain controllers, dc1.matrix.internal, dc2.matrix.internal. Admin SD holder location. CN equals admin SD holder. CN equals system. DC equals matrix. DC equals internal. Protected accounts and groups. Built-in administrator account. Administrator at matrix.internal. Domain admins group. CN equals domain admins. CN equals users. DC equals matrix. DC equals internal. Enterprise admins group. CN equals enterprise admins. CN equals users. DC equals matrix. DC equals internal. Scenario 1. Accidental permission change. Let's say a junior admin, Neo, accidentally modifies the permissions on the domain admins group, removing the reset password right for the group itself. Without admin SD holder, this change would persist, potentially causing issues when domain admins need to reset passwords. With admin SD holder, within 60 minutes, the admin SD holder process, called SD prop, runs and resets the permissions on the domain admins group to match the admin SD holder object, restoring the reset password right. Scenario 2. Intentional delegation. The IT team wants to delegate the ability for the help desk group to reset passwords for members of the marketing group. They set up the delegation on the marketing OU. This works fine for regular user accounts. However, if a member of a protected group, e.g., domain admins, is in the marketing OU, the help desk won't be able to reset their password because admin SD holder will overwrite the custom permission. Scenario 3. Security audit. During a security audit, you discover that someone has added a suspicious account named Backdoor to the domain admins group. You remove the account from the group. However, you notice that the account still has administrative rights. Upon investigation, you find that the attacker also modified the admin SD holder object to give this account full control over all protected objects. This malicious change is being propagated to all protected accounts and groups every hour. Resolution and best practices. Regularly audit the admin SD holder objects ACL using PowerShell. PowerShell. Copy. $admin SD holder equals ADSI. LDAP. / SYN equals admin SD holder. CN equals system. DC equals matrix. DC equals internal $admin SD holder dot space dot object security dot get access rules. $true system security principal dot nt account. Remove any suspicious entries from the admin SD holder ACL. Use a tool like Microsoft Security Compliance Toolkit to baseline and monitor changes to admin SD holder. Implement a process for reviewing and approving any changes to admin SD holder. Regularly audit membership of protected groups to ensure only necessary accounts are included. This example demonstrates how admin SD holder acts as a critical security control in the matrix that internal domain, protecting high-privilege accounts and groups from both accidental changes and potential security breaches. It also highlights the importance of understanding and properly managing admin SD holder to maintain a secure Active Directory environment. Copy. Retry. Claude does not have the ability to run the code it generates yet. Claude does not have internet access. Links provided may not be accurate or up to date. Why enable inheritance enabled on admin SD holder object could pose security issues? Explain. Enabling inheritance on the admin SD holder object in Active Directory can indeed pose significant security risks. Let's break this down to understand why. Purpose of admin SD holder. The admin SD holder object is designed to maintain a consistent and secure set of permissions for protected accounts and groups in Active Directory. It acts as a template, and its permissions are regularly applied to these protected objects. Normal behavior. By default, the admin SD holder object does not inherit permissions from its parent objects. This isolation ensures that its permissions remain consistent and are not affected by changes higher up in the AD structure. Risks of enabling inheritance. A. Unintended permission changes. If inheritance is enabled, the admin SD holder object could receive permissions from parent objects in the AD hierarchy. These inherited permissions might be less restrictive or inappropriate for high-privilege accounts. Example: if a broad modify permissions right is applied at the domain level and inherited by admin SD holder, It could allow unauthorized users to alter critical security settings. B. Reduce control. Administrators lose direct control over the exact permissions set on admin SD holder. Changes made higher in the AD structure could unexpectedly alter admin SD holder permissions. C. Propagation of insecure settings. Any insecure permissions inherited by admin SD holder would be propagated to all protected accounts and groups. This could lead to a widespread security vulnerability across critical AD objects. D. Complexity in troubleshooting. With inheritance enabled, identifying the source of a permission becomes more challenging. Administrators would need to trace permissions up the AD hierarchy to understand why a particular right exists on admin SD holder. E. Potential for privilege escalation. An attacker who gains control of a parent object in the AD hierarchy could potentially modify permissions that would be inherited by admin SD holder. This could provide a path for the attacker to elevate privileges across multiple high-value targets simultaneously. F. Compliance issues. Many security standards and compliance frameworks require strict control over administrative access. Enabling inheritance on admin SD holder could violate these requirements by introducing unpredictable permission changes. Real-world scenario. Imagine in your matrix that internal domain, an administrator enables inheritance on the admin SD holder object. Later, a well-meaning but uninformed IT staff member applies a broad, allow modify permission at the domain level for a contractor group to facilitate a specific project. This permission would now be inherited by admin SD holder and subsequently propagated to all protected groups, potentially giving contractors unintended administrative access across the domain. Best practices. Keep inheritance disabled on the admin SD holder object. Regularly audit the permissions on admin SD holder to ensure they remain appropriate and secure. Use a least privilege model when assigning permissions throughout the AD structure. Implement change control processes for any modifications to admin SD holder or its parent objects. Utilize monitoring tools to alert on any attempts to modify admin SD holder's inheritance settings. By maintaining admin SD holder's default non-inheriting state, you ensure that its critical role in protecting high-privilege accounts is not compromised by unintended or malicious changes higher up in the Active Directory structure.
So as we can see here, this is a very, very good answer. And now we have three different answers to explain why enable inheritance on admin SD holder folder or object is very, very critical and should not be enabled. We have seen what is an admin SD holder folder or object, what does it do exactly, why it is very, very important, why a hacker, if he have access to this folder or object, will have full control over the domain. So the first test is to make sure we don't have inheritance enable or the admin SD holder object, and we have passed this real and this is successful. You don't have this feature enabled. And then the second test is to ensure that permission changes on admin SD holder object. What he mean by that, we will discuss this in the upcoming video. We need to make sure that these groups that have access to this folder are all legitimate and they can or they should or they have access to this folder. So for example, if I find a suspected group or a malicious group here that have access to the admin SD holder folder, I should notice that and remove it. So for example, we can see that domain admins and enterprise admins and administrators all have access to this folder. We need to make sure, or the second test will make sure the permissions on the admin SD holder folder is correct and only the necessary groups have the necessary permissions on the admin SD holder folder. So we will stop at minute 38:27 and we will continue the upcoming video. Hope this video is informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.